All right, all right, all right. This is like the continuation of what I put in the video before this one. It's still got some more dealings with Yeshua's grandfather David, and this is really good. It's an account of a childhood meeting of Yahshua and Miriam, at which they were crowned by their fellow children. And I mean, have you ever thought about it? Like, did Yahshua know who he was the whole time when he was a child as well and everything? And from the teachings in this Holy Megillah, what was recorded, yes, he did. He was very aware of who he was, what his mission was, and so were his parents and their parents and their parents' parents. Because as I've been trying to shed some light on, is the Holy Megillah tells us that it was the order of the Immaculate Conception, and that there was a process and a lineage and family having to live their life according to certain ways in order for the manifestation and the birth of Yeshua to even take place. And so it's a lot more to the Immaculate Conception than we were told. And it's a lot more to what what Yeshua's coming to earth than we were told as well. He did not just come here to die or to die for our sins and all of that stuff. There's a book I'm going to read eventually. It's in here, and it's not even a book. It's just a brief encounter between Yeshua and Peter. And Peter is the one who decided that what we know of Christ, like the whole death, the resurrection, and all of that, was from the mouth of Peter. And it's very different than from the words of Christ. And I got a video on here with Apollos. And it was the 12th disciple. And he already went in to explain to Saul, who was Paul, changed his name to Paul, that your teachings and what you're saying about Yeshua is very different than the Christ Yeshua that he walked with, that Apollos walked with. So here we go. I'm going to stop running my mouth, but it's going to get harder and harder for me to read these without running my mouth, because the more that I'm reading it, and then when I try to record it for you guys, and then I proofread it, I'm reading it like 10 times. And what's happening is it's starting to speak to me, and I got to say it. I can't just read it out now. But most of the stuff that's on my channel, I'll be speaking about. You can find a reference to it. You could find where it's written at, because I put a lot of this book up here so far. One of the things I want to speak on is when Yeshua gets down here and he starts to say what what his purpose is, what he came for. And he's only 7 years old, so pay attention. And he also explains why Miriam incarnated into the flesh as well. So this is really good. And they're 7 years old, so stick with this one to the end. There's a really good song from Miriam to Yeshua. And the phoenix feather, if you want to know about that, you got to go to the video right before this one. It talks about the phoenix feather. Okay. Here we go. Blessed, loved in the Lord and Lady. In the 7th year of Jade, come as Yeshua, the Holy Child, embraced his eternal soulmate, the blessed child Miriam, during a brief encounter in Alexandria, Egypt. And that story is as follows. One sunny day, while Yeshua played with other Nasarean children of the Essene Temple in the region of Alexandria, which was in the wilderness outside of Alexandria. So this is the same place that they go when they get married. So anybody... okay, so they met there as 7 years old for the first time. Behold, the children crowned their king. The children led him to a wooden chair in the center of the circle and asked him to sit. When the holy child Yeshua sat on the chair, behold, his playmates placed on his head a crown of vines and flowers. Lo, the children then placed a wooden staff in his hand, saying, "This staff is your royal scepter." Then they bowed to him, saying, "Hail, King of the All." Yeshua, in awareness of himself, so it says he was aware of who he was. In awareness of himself as Jade, come as a man, he said to the children, "Behold, your eyes are clear and your voice speaks truly, but see that you tell this to no one at this time." So 7-year-old Jesus says, "For I come as a man, not as God, to show the way to walk as a righteous man. Yea, I come to teach the way to all who will follow me in the resurrection from fallen flesh into the ascended bodies of holy cherubim." Okay. Now, I got to say something, because we know about the resurrection, but the only part of the resurrection that we know about was his resurrection. But he said right here, "I've come to teach the way to all who will follow me in the resurrection." And what? Not the resurrection from the dead, but the resurrection from fallen flesh into the ascended bodies of heavenly cherub. Now, I could talk for 10 minutes because I've already tried to make this video, and now I'm trying to keep it short. So he said, follow him in the resurrection from fallen flesh. Okay. So the whole understanding of our resurrection and that he rose from the dead, and you got to believe that to be saved and everything, that all, I'm not speaking against that, but I'm saying that that's not the main focus. He was talking about, he was going to teach us how to have this resurrection from this fallen flesh that we're in. And it didn't, and I'm telling you, it didn't mean you had to die first. Okay, so he says, "Everything that I do, man and woman can do. Yea, I come with my glory veiled as a righteous son of mankind, to show the way of ascension to the children of this fallen world." So I'm glad that he used this other word, ascension, because the resurrection and ascension is two is one and the same things. Because the way of ascension, the way is the lifestyle. It's that whole immaculate conception thing I was tapping into in the last video. The order of the immaculate conception, the precepts and the things you had to learn, and the way you had to live, and the things you had to eat, and even down to what you wore on your body, all played a part in this way. And that's what this book is titled, the Nazarene. It's called the Holy Megillah. It's called the Nazarene Bible of the Essene Way. And the Essene means healer. And so since we've fallen and we're sick, there's this way that we could live, that we could follow, that it's the way of ascension. It's the way of resurrection and ascension from this fallen state that we're in. And so that within itself is like something new. Even though we've heard all the stories and everything that we heard, we didn't know that there's a right way to live and there's a wrong way to live. One of them sends you down on the ladder of consciousness, and one of them sends you up. And we're not supposed to be stuck here just being born again and again, living these karmatic cycles. And some of the things that they've taught us to do, like the eating and killing of animals, is what is keeping us trapped. And that's what I'm getting from this Holy Megillah. So let me just try to finish this reading. This video is going to be longer than I wanted it to be. But I hope you guys are enjoying the readings and my little pieces that I'm starting to put in here. I hope that everyone can see it as well. And if you're new to my channel, you're going to have to go back and watch a few videos to catch up. And I started specifically with the Old Testament, it's called the Matanah, in the beginning, because the story of Moses is different. All of the stories are different, and they're different because they're all about this way that you have to live to ascend from this fallen state. And the powers that be, they kept it hidden. They thought they erased it for a while. I mean, I never heard of this stuff. So, but it's all important. So, all right, guys, let's keep going. I'm going to try. I'm telling you, this is the 4th time I made this video, but when I get to this part, I talk for like an hour. But the time of my manifestation to the people is not yet come. Then behold, David the Yair, grandfather of Yahshua, approached the assembled children, and with David was an Ethiopian woman and a girl child. David spoke to the children, saying, "This woman is Zabiah, a Nazarene from Old Cush. Lo, Old Cush was the homeland of Old Eden, which was the first Nazarene settlement on this world. With Zabiah is her daughter of 7, Miriam. Behold, they are fleeing from Cush to Galilee, for our enemies seek to kill them. These enemies have already killed Zabiah's husband, the holy Zamara, the father of Miriam. Zabiah and Miriam will rest some days with us, then continue their journey. Wherefore do not speak of these things to any who are not Nasarean, for our enemies have spies in Alexandria." David and Zabiah left Miriam with the children for a time to play, and went to counsel with the high priestess Rose, wife of David. When the adults left, Yahshua took the crown of vines and flowers that the children had placed on his head, and placed them upon the head of Miriam. He led her to the wooden chair in the center of the circle, saying, "This is your throne, for lo, you are my queen. Thus it has been from the beginning, and thus it is now, and thus it shall be ever. Thus shall ever be. Thus it shall ever be." Sorry. From when the Tizum came forth, King Jade beside him was his queen Janah. "Yea, you are my eternal spouse. We are one Lord and his lady, one king and his queen, one God and goddess immanent, in service to God and goddess transcended in Yah. Amen." Then Yahshua spoke to the assembled children, saying, "When the great tyrant set his 7 most vile servants to infest the doorway into this world." Okay, listen to this, y'all. This is out of Yahshua's mouth. When the great tyrant sent his 7 most vile servants to infest the doorway into this world, he thought that the great light would take no notice. For lo, he concealed his work in webs and shadows. But my queen is the great feminine light, and she takes notice when one of her temple wombs is desecrated. And so she entered through this doorway. Yea, she entered and purified this womb, casting out the vile 7 and their helpers, from where the law declares they are not free to nest. For the realm of entry to this world is to remain neutral according to the will of Elohim. And when the 7 servants of the great tyrant fought against the great light, who is my Shekinah, they knew not who they fought against. But be warned, though the 7 are forbidden to nest in the doorway of entry to this world, they have freedom to roam elsewhere in this world. Even now they roam this world with many of their fellows, both embodied and disembodied. I want to stop here because I want to talk about this, what he just said. So this would be another teaching of Yahshua telling us why the queen, the divine feminine light, had to come into the flesh of this world, because the womb had got infested of this doorway. And so people were being born with diseases in the spiritual. Yeah, I'm going to stop this here so this video doesn't get too long, but I'm going to pick my next video up reading the same thing. But I wanted to say that now that you guys have heard the difference in the stories, now you're going to hear stories you never heard before. And you really got to pay attention to what it's saying, because I don't know how long they're going to let me keep putting this stuff up, honestly, because it's so different and it's so controversial. And I'm just throwing it up there as fast as I can, but y'all need to find y'all a copy of this somehow. I'm still trying to find me a hard copy and get to reading it, because the stuff that this is talking about is what we need to stand our ground in these last days. All right. Stay tuned for the rest of this meeting between the childhood Miriam and Yahshua. She's got some things she says to him too. All right, guys, stay tuned.